Hi friends, it is so good to be back with you today. I did a little bit of crafting this morning. I tend to feel best in the mid-morning, so I decided to bring you along and let you see what I was working on today. I thought a voiceover would be easier just so I can edit as needed in case I had to stop and cough or blow my nose or any of those things, but I made some espresso. I wish I had made it stronger, but I made a shot of espresso this morning, as you can see, and I put some in a spray bottle and I put some in a plate with a little espresso cup, and I'm using it to spray the back plain white sides of some 12 by 12 scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby that I'll be putting in the Little Women journals. I thought that the espresso cup shape of the base would be about the size of a teacup, and I know they drink a lot of tea in Little Women. I don't know about coffee, but since coffee is what I had on hand, I decided to do that. So I'm just making a little bit of interest on these otherwise sort of boring page backs, but still allowing someone to be able to journal on top of this. Getting my hands messy. It has been so long since I've felt like doing anything like this that I was just having so much fun. My daughter and I did do our nails a couple days ago, which was a big treat, and I decided I wanted to do something that made me happy, so I decided to do 80s Barbie. That was what I called my color combo. I have hot pink on 4 nails and like a shimmery purple with a silver glitter on my 4th finger. It's so fun. I apologize, I'm still struggling with my voice is back, but I am just extremely congested in my sinuses, so my voice sounds a little off, but it is what it is. I'll probably sound this way for a couple more weeks. Y'all, I have not had a sinus infection in a very long time, and I don't know that I've ever had one this bad. I used to get them a lot in high school, so I vaguely remembered what they felt like. But I was not expecting this to hit me so fast and so hard, especially at the end of what I thought was the end of such a long respiratory illness, which my 2 children are still struggling with. I have one on day 16 and one on day 18. I swear this is the illness that will not end. It just will not go away. We've been to the doctor several times. Lungs are clear. Sinuses are clear for them. It's just taking a long time for the body to get rid of this. So I wondered if any of you have experienced that. I know that it's been kind of circulating since November, but man, I feel like I need to get my whole month back. So I'm using these are stamps that I was able to snag at a antique / consignment store probably over a year ago. I think the brand, I have some in my shop, by the way, because I had way too many of them, but I kept some of the ones that I like the best, and I thought that some of these would make good corner embellishment stamps for, you know, like on Victorian or 1800 type pages, they would stamp the corner of a page. So I'm pulling out the ones that would look good in the corner. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of grabbing the ones that I think would be characteristic of the mid 1800s. They're definitely easy to spot. I like the lime green backing. Sometimes it's really hard to tell with the clear acrylic stamps what exactly it's going to look like when stamped. I like that these show you the image on such a bright background. So I have 2 distress inks here. I think I have Gathered Twigs there, or I think I'm using Vintage Photo First, which is the first distress ink pad I ever bought. And then below it is Gathered Twigs. And I can't tell that much of a difference. Gathered Twigs is a little darker and a little less orangey, but I just grabbed both of them anyway. And I tend to put my ink on the stamps this way just because I have a hard time like leaving gaps in my stamping, and this guarantees that I can see everything. I thought that turned out really neat. So what have you guys been crafting this week? I know I've been watching a lot of your videos. So many new and creative ideas seem to be floating in everyone's heads so far this new year. And I was feeling sort of a creative stagnate, is that the right word? At the end of last year. But watching all of y'all's videos so far in January has kind of inspired me to think outside the box and just be more creative and not so cookie cutter, and not only what kind of journals I want to make, but what other type of projects sort of related to junk journaling that I want to embark on, like recipe binders or glue books seems to be a big thing right now. I've always wanted to make one, so maybe I'll do one. I've always wanted to try an altered book. But it's been fun watching all of y'all talk about your New Year plans and creative goals and what's going to be changing and added to your shops if you have an Etsy shop, and new little video type of things that you are going to put on your channel. So January is swiftly eroding away, and I realize that I have not even begun to post anything like I said that I was going to about, junk journaling 101, or those of you who are just interested in or just getting started in junk journaling, and that may be something that starts later in the month or even into February at this point, just because these Little Women journals are, guys, these are going to be truly a labor of love, and labor is the key word. It is just, I feel like everything has been trying to keep me from finishing these, and I thank goodness the process is enjoyable to me. That's the problem. I enjoy it so much, and it just kills me when I don't feel up to getting in here and crafting. It's almost torture to kind of walk by it every day and see it and know that I'm not feeling like sitting there and doing that. So when these get done, they will be like priceless to me, because I'll know how much heartache went into making them, just because it just was like pulling strings to get, or is it pulling teeth to get, I feel like my brain is not 100% firing on all cylinders. It's just been super hard to actually sit down and do more than 1 or 2 pages a day, or 1 or 2 small projects a day on these journals. And like I said, I plan on selling one but keeping one. So I had hoped by the end of January to stock my shop with several new types of fun journals in several different varieties and motifs for whatever kind of person is looking for a journal. That is not going to be realized, and I'm having to accept that fact. So I hope by the end of the month that at least this Little Women journal will get listed, maybe a couple more. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm just going to focus right now on trying to finish these. Like I said, the process is enjoyable. I am really loving it. It's sort of a challenge for me because I normally am into super bright retro type of things. That's like, where my heart lies most of the time. But I do love, if it's old, I love it. And so I love this period of history too. And it's been kind of fun to pull out and use some of the things that has been in my stash that I have not even gotten to use yet. Like these stamps. I'm stamping on ecru paper that I got, I think it's just copy paper, but it's 24 pound or 22 pound, pretty thick copy paper. It took me so long to find ivory or ecru copy paper. I think because I was trying to buy it right at or right after Christmas, and I think everyone had bought some for maybe their Christmas letters or Christmas church programs or whatever. I could not find any ivory. I could find every other pastel color in white, but not off-white. But I was able to finally find some at Staples. So that's where this is from. I just realized here that the stamp was upside down. Not that that matters. I could have just turned the paper over, but... This was a stamp that I bought on a whim at Hobby Lobby last year. I was just in the store for something else and walked by and I saw that it had been marked down on clearance to like $6, and I could not pass it up because a large handwriting stamp has been on my wish list for a while. So those of you, I don't want to talk about sickness much anymore because I feel like that's all I've talked about. But for those of you that have chronic sinus infections, I am so sorry. It's bad enough having one, every few years. I can't imagine having these all the time. I know a lot of people get them because of allergies that go crazy, but I've never, it's been probably 20 years since I had to have antibiotics for one, and I'm typically anti-antibiotic. I like that to be my last resort, but I was in so much pain on Monday I didn't care. And all the signs pointed to the fact that I did need one. So I immediately started feeling better on Tuesday. I was fever-free all day yesterday, and I was pretty optimistic until right after dinner my fever spiked again. And when I say spiked, it got almost to 100. My normal temperature has always been below 97 or around 97.5, something like that. So when I get a fever of 100, it's like 103. So I was knocked out, and I was just so disheartened and worried and discouraged. And my husband was like, you might have had a really, really bad infection, and it might take more than 24 hours for this antibiotic to make you feel better. You have to be patient with yourself. So today I've been focusing more on resting, drinking a lot, and only doing activities that absolutely have to be done. And then the things that I want to do, only things that bring me joy, like stamping. And I'm really, really hoping that this will turn around soon. But like I said, if you deal with those on a routine basis, my heart goes out to you. It is, it's pain like no other. I really like this stamp. It reminds me kind of like a William Morris type flower that would be like repeated in one of his patterns. So I decided to put those at the bottom corner of this page. And these pages will all be folded, of course. And of course the back will be blank, which is fine. Normally on the backs of blank pages, I either put a really thin pocket, if it's thin paper, or, like a corner tuck, or I will choose that page to clip a large piece of ephemera to, because I don't mind that the ephemera covers most of the page. And then, things like maps or letters that are very large. Aren't these scroll stamps really neat? I thought the other one was a little overpowering, so I didn't end up using that one. Just because these journals are not super big. Once that is folded, that larger scroll would have taken up half of the writing space on the page. So this little acrylic block that I have is the only true acrylic block that I own, and I got it at a yard sale. To this date, it's been one of my top 2 favorite yard sales I've ever been to. And it was just in a box of stuff, and she let me take the whole box for free because I had already bought several other things. And I didn't realize the stamp set was in there. And when I saw that it had a acrylic block, I about lost my mind, and my husband was like, "You were this excited about a clear plastic block?" And I said, "Yes, you just don't know how much they are in the stores. They're crazy." And I think they're really pretty to look at. They remind me of a prism. But you can kind of see the stamps at the top. It's a set of Martha Stewart stamps, and they're very, very, very tiny. And they are sort of spring garden motif. So there's like a line of grass, there's tiny ladybugs, tiny birds, lots of different flower pots, and then stems with leaves, and then flowers. So you can kind of make your own flower pot, flower stem, flower combo. It's just so creative and fun. And they're all really tiny, so they look great on small cards or tags that you just want to put one tiny little stamp on. I would love to go back and try to find some more of that Martha Stewart stamp line. I'm sure she made more than one style, but I bet there are other little motifs that are so cute, as well as that one. I would love to look those up sometime on eBay. These are some acrylic stamps that I found on Amazon. When I first started junk journaling, I couldn't begin to tell you where I got them, like what seller now. But if you just search clear acrylic stamp sets, I think it came in a pack of 10 or a pack of 10 sheets. And they're all very, very, very detailed flowers. And so I grabbed a rose for this particular paper, and I stepped away from the table because I'm looking for my pink and green ink pads, which were behind me. Those little teardrop shaped ink pads were also included in that Martha Stewart stamp set, and it's honestly some of the best ink I've ever used. I was very skeptical when I got home with this stamp set that those were even going to be still like usable, even though the package was still sealed. You just never know how long someone had been storing something that's at a yard sale, but they have been fine, and it's been almost 2 years and I'm still using them. I kind of wish I had brought it closer to the camera to show you the detail, but when I do the flip through, I hope I will remember to do that. I've got a baby wipe that I'm cleaning the stamps with. Is that what you guys usually use to clean yours? Of course, I like to wash them really well when I'm done, but while I'm still stamping, I usually just grab a baby wipe and use that. For lunch today, which we ate right after this video was made, my kids and I made, I guess, mock Reubens. That's what we ended up calling them, because we didn't use corned beef. We used ham. But last night at Publix, I bought some fermented sauerkraut. We've been trying to eat fermented foods more as a family over the past few months or so. But now that we're trying to get over all of this, we decided to like really up our game and eat a lot less processed sugar. My husband's no sugar, and I can't just cold turkey it, but I'm weaning off of it, and so we've been adding a lot of fermented foods. Now, my husband knows how to ferment, and I will say that it's an interesting process, but it doesn't smell very good while you're fermenting things in your house. But this time, because I just needed so many things so fast, we went to Publix and got sauerkraut, pickles, kimchi, and kefir. I'm trying to think what else. Anyway, you can't just buy any pickle or any sauerkraut. Not all of it is fermented. Basically, if it's refrigerated, it's probably fermented, but you still need to look at the ingredients and see. Fermentation uses no vinegar, so if you see vinegar on the list of ingredients, it's not fermented, it's just brined or pickled. So we found some at Publix. I think it's the Cleveland brand, and it's fermented. And so I told the kids we should make Reubens for lunch tomorrow. So we did, and they were so good. We loaded those things with sauerkraut. And I also thought this is so fitting because I'm working on the Little Women Journal, and you know, there's a couple of German characters in the book, and so I'm assuming sauerkraut is from Germany. I don't really know that for a fact, but it sure is yummy. We haven't tried the pickles yet. The pickles, it was a little bit of an investment to buy these pickles, especially because I know my husband can make them, but it takes about 5 days to ferment them at home, so we just went ahead and bought some. But the jar is really big, and the reviews of this brand, I think the brand is called Bubby's, were excellent reviews. So we're going to try those tonight with dinner. I'm excited. I have this little key stamp. I actually bought it at the same place I bought all those green stamps. So the lady who owns a little shop in my town had a really, really good friend. They're older, and they had been friends for like 30, 40 years. But her friend passed away probably 5 years ago. And so all of her stamps, you can see the letter G on there. I think those belong to her friend whose name must have started with a G. All of her friend's stamps that she didn't want to keep for herself, she just kind of put in a basket in her store and sold consignment style. And I went in and grabbed some of them. Some of them, the rubber had gotten too hard. You know how after a while, if rubber stamps are not stored in like a room temperature, they get hard. So some of them I knew I couldn't really make work, but that key stamp had huge potential. So I grabbed that. It was $2. And then I also got a beautiful topiary stamp that day. I love this color blue. I had never bought this brand Versacolor, and I don't remember the name of the blue, but it's such a beautiful periwinkle. It looks a little more baby blue once you stamp it, but I bought it when I was doing my Peter Rabbit journals, and I love that color. So pretty. There's the little Martha Stewart ones, you can kind of see them. Now this, you might recognize, is just a Dollar Tree sheet of acrylic stamps, and I thought about doing a yellow bird for the little canary. I think his name is Pip, that Beth had, but I wasn't sure how yellow would stamp on ivory paper, so I ended up just using blue, like just making a little blue bird. And I think I ended up choosing a darker blue. I didn't use the Versacolor. Yep, that's when I made the decision to switch to another blue. These little square stamps I got on clearance at Michael's. I got 12 stamps for $1. I mean, it's 12 pads for $1. And I remember thinking, these probably are not going to work. Well, guys, they're not the best. They tend to sort of leave a powdery finish. And if you rub really hard against it, you can kind of smear it even long after it's dry. But, you know, it works. And I would eventually like to replace all of those colors with a nicer brand of ink. But for now, I mean, it makes a pretty image, so. Sorry I'm a little bit off frame. I decided to sit down instead of stand up halfway through, and I think I wasn't thinking about the camera location. I was hoping to think of a way to use the alphabet stamps on these pages that my husband gave me for Christmas, and I did not. So I will probably use those to make labels or stamp something on some tags. So you will be seeing those in this journal for sure. So now I'm just going to run through and show you again all of the finished images. The coffee papers are still drying at this point, but you'll see them in the flip through too. I also sprayed some parchment off camera with some coffee spray. That rose one is my favorite, I think. Thanks so much for joining me today, for being patient with me as I recover from all of this, and for being such a loyal video watcher. I appreciate all of you. Bye-bye.